Soldiers have been continuously dying in Afghanistan. It's America's longest war. Today they're still facing death, horrific injuries, for essentially no purpose, it seems. I mean, how do you think they should understand the war in Afghanistan? What do you think their purpose should be?
The war in Afghanistan has morphed. It's not about Al-Qaeda anymore, and it's not about the Taliban anymore. It's about China, Russia, the soft underbelly, which is mostly Muslim of Russia, about Pakistan, about Iran, about Syria, about Iraq, about whether Kurdistan has stood up or not, and ultimately about oil, water, and energy in general. And the U.S. presence in Afghanistan, I'll predict right now, will not go away for another half century.
Oh my God, that's a horrible thought.
And it will grow. It will not decrease. It will grow.
And let's talk about strategic influence, especially, you know, we see this Cold War resurrection going on right now. As someone who's lived throughout the Cold War, the schism within the establishment when it comes to Russia and this new posturing with Russia. After the reunification of Germany, there was a promise on behalf of NATO that it would not continue to build up. What has instead happened?
Not 1 inch further east is what Jim Baker, Secretary of State, said to Edward Shevardnadze.
What interests are behind the buildup?
Why do we want more countries in NATO? Because then Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and Boeing and others can sell to them. Then the Soviets, now the Russians, won't be selling to them. Why do we want Ukraine?
Don't we have enough? I mean,
empire never has enough. That's the nature of imperial power. It never has enough. Have you ever watched Battlestar Galactica or Star Wars, you know, or Game of Thrones? Empire never has enough power. It never has enough wealth. It never has a more stable status quo. It has a increasingly unstable status quo, and so its efforts are ever more frenetic to protect that status quo, its power and its wealth, and to even expand them. That's the nature of empire. And that's what we are now. That's what we are. Everyone's protestations to the contrary, that's what we are. Depending on whose reports you read, about a third, 20% I'll say to 30% of Russia's heavy armaments industry is in Ukraine. What do they do for tanks? What do they do for their heavy armaments in their military if Ukraine goes? The idea that we could do something in Ukraine, covert or otherwise, and have Putin not respond is just laughable.
You know, I feel like a lot of people, of course, feel helpless, especially those of us living within the empire, paying and sponsoring all these atrocities with our tax dollars. What can we do from preventing this government, the military-industrial complex, from crushing us?
The people, the American people, or at least a substantial, powerful minority of them, hopefully a powerful majority of them, are going to have to get sick and tired of this. They're going to have to get angry about it, and they're going to have to take action. That's the only thing that I see as a way to salvage this republic before it sinks completely. We are going to have a very powerful minority, or hopefully, as I said, a majority, 51%, 52%, who actually stand up on their hind legs and say, I've had it. This isn't going to happen anymore. You're not getting... Does that mean revolution? It might. It might indeed.